Hey everyone, and hello to the Free Play Zone. My name is Billy Dent. I'm a game design student here at RMIT in Melbourne, and I'm here to talk about my game Monomyth, but mostly a bunch of other weird stuff. First, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm recording this presentation on the stolen lands of the people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. I also want to dedicate a moment to my friend Scout, who I learned had passed away the same night I was invited to present to you all. I'm incredibly privileged to have this opportunity to enjoy tonight's games with you, but I'm reminded that the best thing about free play isn't just the games, it's the people and the team who put in the work to make our spaces and the world a kinder place. I hope you're all taking care of the vulnerable people in your friend groups and your communities, especially right now. So I wanted to give my presentation a fun little name. We're calling this one Growing Up on Trash Mountain, the freest place on Earth. It's going to take some time to get to the peak of that mountain, so stick with me, right? I'm going to start by describing the plot of a short film. The main character of this film is a man whose life is defined by his excitement for an upcoming movie. As the film begins, he arrives at his friend's house and wonders aloud why the movie still hasn't been released. His friend delivers him the bad news. It's gone. Cancelled. It's not coming. And with nothing to look forward to, our protagonist promptly jumps off the balcony and discovers that the afterlife is the movie, which he experiences both as an observer and as a participant. Unfortunately, his joy is almost immediately interrupted as he wakes up in a hospital, surrounded by his friends, apparently surviving the fall. He calls out to one of his friends and he begs them to kill him, knowing paradise exists on the other side and it's waiting for him. His friend obliges and he returns to the world of his movie. Moments before he sees the end though, he wakes again in an unfamiliar place, resurrected by aliens as the last enduring memory of the human race. The aliens are able to provide him with the movie, ironically having released some time after his death, and he finally sees the end. It sucks, like really sucks. But in his disappointment, the protagonist realizes he was always wrong to think 90 minutes of cinema was going to give his life meaning. And with the help of the aliens, he returns to the beginning of the story, ready to live his life to the fullest. Okay, pretty weird story for sure, but you can kind of imagine this as a solid, absurdist, dark comedy, right? This is the plot to Guanum's Great Adventure, or Dino Time Enough for Love, a YouTube poop from 2013. And for those of you who don't know, YouTube poops are a sort of video collage that takes existing media, usually like games and cartoons, and splices it into something else, usually a bunch of dumb non sequiturs and toilet humor.
My name is Josh Van Josh.
But this YouTube poop is constructed mostly out of clips and characters from the infamously bad Zelda CDI games, which is actually a really, really popular YouTube poop source, with Guanum the Wizard as our protagonist, who, by the way, has 3 lines in the game. The subject of his obsession is Dino Time, a fiercely mediocre animated kids film that basically nobody remembers, assuming they've even seen it. I'd be impressed if anyone in the audience has seen it. But it probably goes without saying, this is absolutely ridiculous, right? Nothing about that game or that movie have anything to do with the story I described. It's like this weirdly ambitious parable with an entire character arc delivered in 8 minutes, and it just happens to be iconic game hero Link singing
I like this, and I cannot. Why?
It's got an incredibly immature sense of humor, in all honesty, and it occasionally is kind of gross, but I feel like it still slaps. And more importantly, it's total trash. And it's what I was raised on. The very first YouTube video I ever watched was called Kirby is Blue. It's just clips of the Kirby anime, which I'd never seen before, mind you, drenched in a blue filter with Eiffel 65's I'm Blue playing over it. 6-year-old me thought this was way more interesting than whatever was on the TV, so I just stopped fighting my sister for the remote and started watching trash on YouTube every day. Some people have another name for trash though. Remix culture. And for many early Zoomers like myself, That remix culture defined our existence of growing up extremely online. I watched a ton of YouTube poops, but that was only the beginning. And some of these things might be more relatable to you guys. Anime music videos, Gary's Mod animations, Minecraft parodies, Naruto doing caramel dance, and every meme ever made, Homestuck. I've watched numerous characters be completely democratized by the internet, warped beyond all sense of recognition by fans, and those versions of the characters are the ones that live in my head. Complete trash, right? But trash is cool as hell. It's cool. It's almost always interesting to reinterpret, recontextualize, reuse, reinvent. Wherever you want to use an existing work as a springboard for your like unique message and creative vision, or I just want to pretend that Gordy from Pokemon is my boyfriend. I think we all understand that the concept of originality is flawed, everything's done before, etc. I think it's the right attitude, but like, do we apply it equally? Your Mario-inspired 2D platformer absolutely deserves respect for what it accomplishes, whether it's original or not. But what about the 3-hour-long animated YouTube series where Mario fights Sonic and does a Kamehameha? Is that worthy of the same respect? Does it get to be art? I mean, I'd like to see Mr. Miyamoto try and make anything like that. I believe what defines trash, all the stuff I've talked about, is that it's not a shame to let people know it owes its existence to someone else. And here's where it comes full circle, because Monomyth, it's trash. Confession time, I made nearly none of the assets in Monomyth. I wrote what little code there was, I drew the UI graphics, I crafted this MS Paint smiley face you're seeing here, I wrote the dialogue, but half of the characters are just ripping off One Piece. I've got my friend Audrey to thank for the post-processing shaders. I've got my friend Oscar to thank for some of the music. And I have a ridiculous number of strangers to thank for everything else. The very premise of the game is that I took Joseph Campbell's idea of the hero's journey, essentially the default story, and I interpreted it in the most literal, surface level way possible, and still made something unique and appealing. Like, Monomyth isn't obvious trash, right? I didn't use Goombas for enemies or anything. You can't tell unless you know and you're like on the Unity asset store a lot. But it was born and bred on Trash Mountain nonetheless. And to be honest, that fact makes it really hard for me to feel like I belong here talking to you all tonight. Every single other game in the showcase tonight is beautiful. I feel like I just put a nice looking filter over a shrine to the Unity asset store. But while writing this script, I had to think, and I remembered that my favorite Pokemon game is made by fans out of stolen sprites, and that the single most important piece of media to me shamelessly inserts 90s Americana all over the place. Younger creators like myself often feel that doing everything from scratch, obfuscating your inspirations is how you make something worthy of respect. You need to pretend that you've did it all on your own. You know, I grabbed this mesh from the internet. I reused the boat animation. The gamers are going to call me lazy. I am lazy. And I mean, you know, maybe I am lazy, but people like Monomyth. And I love trash. You should go make some. Thank you.
Squadala, we're off! And I'm Josh Bear.